This is the Lean Builders Hoots on the Ground podcast with absolutely, positively no bullshito. Join us as we dig into exactly what lean construction is and how we can use these concepts and strategies in the field. This podcast will be different as we journey to job sites and mine the minds of lean builders, all in effort to pass forward building knowledge from those who have put their time in to learn a better way. Because that's just what lean builders do.
I don't know if you're going to add this in the podcast, but I just love those guys, the lean builders. If you want to talk about professionals that have integrity, high levels of class, low drama, great people, I mean, that's just, you just couldn't get a better group of people. They deserve everything that they have. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
That's just what lean builders do. You know, you've got the on we go tag. I'm starting to realize that maybe that's a good one. That's just what lean builders do. And to everything that you just said, right? It's humility, it's being professional, it's no drama, it's driving jobs, it's focusing on the goal of delivering high performing buildings in the most efficient way possible that respects people. And that's it. That's what lean builders do. So
yeah,
what do you think about that?
I think it's fantastic. I really do. I mean, and you probably couldn't say, it's kind of like shake and bake. You can't say it too much. It's like, that's what lean builders do, baby. So no, it really is because, you know, you are, and here's a challenge. I'm dropping a challenge right now. You are defining what the word lean is, and we're going to drift it from the bullshito, like you said, to the proper use of the term, where it's centered around people. And as a start, by way of example, who we are first, right? We're going to elevate ourselves and set the example and bring up everyone else with us and learn from the people around us and elevate from them. And I just think that's a really neat mission. So I give it a 10 out of 10. That's what lean builders do. So that's my opinion.
Hallelujah.
I think it's fantastic.
Preach, Mr. Schroeder.
Preach on, baby.
All right. Well, so what's up, y'all? Adam Hoots here with the Lean Builder podcast, Hoots on the Ground, and we've got the amazingly awesome Mr. Jason Schroeder with Elevate Construction with us. Jason, say what's up to the people, the Lean Builder Nation.
What's up, everybody? I just want you to know I love you. I can see you in my mind out there, and I'm excited to be with you. I'm excited to be with Hoots on the Ground, and I just want everybody to know that I absolutely love the Lean Builder group, the book, the blog, and this podcast. And so I'm happy to be here with everybody and hopefully add some value. So lots of love for me.
You add value everywhere you go, Jason. So happy to have you. You are certainly one of my lean heroes. Personally, I look up to you. You're an idol as far as I'm concerned. You're doing some amazing things, changing the construction. That is your impact, Jason. You are making a difference. And so I guess I want to start real easy with you, real simple. Just tell us who you are. Who is Jason Schroeder?
Well, I'll actually, that's a really neat question. I've never been asked that before. So I am my wife sometimes calls me a snowflake. I'm a highly emotional, very sensitive individual that is highly responsive to praise and criticism. And my wife is a very thinking, wonderful, I mean, she's we're about to be a women-owned business, and that's not fake. Like, we are a women-owned business. And she is like the thinker out of the group. And so I would say one thing that people probably don't know about me is I'm very sensitive, and I've been a superintendent for, you know, a long time. And it's been interesting with that to have to kind of flex back and forth. But I'm a really caring, loving person. My grandma, her name was Doris. She was a little 5'4", I think in the latter part of her life, probably 5'2", just sweet little lady. She practically raised me in addition to my wonderful parents, but I would come over to her house and she would tilt her toes up like this whenever I came around, because I was so clunky, I would step on her toes, and she would give me a hug and a big kiss on the cheek and make me egg sandwiches and things like that. And so she would just sit there and listen to me. And I would say that who I am is a big, in large measure, her. And they called her Dot. She loved ladybugs. And so she's kind of like my spirit animal. The love and the connection and the wanting to be around people really was taught to me by her. And so who I am, I'm a man who grew up as an only child by myself and absolutely hated being lonely. And so having 11 children was a dream of mine. It was done intentionally. We did know how that happened, and we repeated it through a PDCA cycle that made it even more efficient as we went along. And I have those kids, and they are the treasure of my life. And the podcast listeners and people like you and people at church are the treasure of my life, because that is my heaven, being around people. So that's me.
Wow. You answered like the next 3 or 4 questions that I had for you without even me asking the question. That's amazing. So Dot made you, right? I guess is what I hear. Like Miss Dot Schroeder. Was it Dot Schroeder or?
Her name was Doris Gross. Gross was a German name, so her name was Doris, and they would call her Dot, and she was just a sweet woman. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, Ladybugs is where she got the nickname. That's amazing. You're caring, you're thoughtful, you're sensitive, I think is what I heard. Is that okay in the superintendent world? Is it okay to be sensitive? I don't know.
I think it is. And I'll tell you, I don't know if I'm going in the wrong direction, but I would get emotional and violent sometimes as a superintendent. I keep telling the story. One time I told the mechanical contractor that I would kill somebody if we didn't have the air handlers on before July, because we wanted to take the care of the workers, and I got in trouble for that. The word vulnerability was the key to Jason Schroeder, and it continues to be, is that if I start to get emotional and directive, nobody likes it when I show up that way, and I shouldn't show up that way. And that's not what God designed me to do, to show up that way. I need to show up vulnerably and be like, hey, everybody, I'm worried about this. I'm really feeling a little bit tipped over. Please help me out. And anytime in a trade partner meeting or with trade partners or in any professional setting where I was vulnerable and did that, it doesn't, and I'm going to say it like this because I don't have these anymore. What do you call them? Social biases or whatever. It didn't matter if they were of a different race or background, male, female, tattoos, been to prison, not college, don't care. Any of those men and women in that conference room, when I was vulnerable, would respond back to me with a level of kindness. In fact, I almost like get teary-eyed when I think about it, but like would respond back to me with a certain amount of care and kindness that I have never before experienced. And so my direct answer to you was that like that sensitive was okay. And not only was it okay, it was the only times when I was really, really effective. And I'm not regretful, but I really wish I had more and more of those experiences in my past. And all I can do is create more in the future.
I love that. You're preaching right to me, man. Because vulnerability creates trust, right? And when you're able to show up in a vulnerable way, it creates this connection, this level of trust. And both of us are Patrick Lencioni fans, and we know that's the foundation to developing teams. And what it does is it allows the other person to become vulnerable as well. And so once but I guess the hard part, and especially for a builder, right, a superintendent, the one who's supposed to be commanding the army in the field and making things happen, like you've got to set the tone for the job. And so if a superintendent comes in vulnerable, that sets the tone in a little bit of a different way. So, you're right. We're kind of going in a different direction than I thought the podcast would go, but I think it's so important, and especially as you, as a leader, as you're making so much change in the industry, how do you show up with a vulnerable mindset to spread this level of vulnerability that develops trust? What does that?
Let me anchor back. How do I show up to spread that level of vulnerability? I can say that I'm not proud of this, and I hope I'm not using victim language. Up until now, I have not been good at this, and I will be good at this. I can tell you a couple of things, and again, if I kick me on the shin if I get to going in the wrong direction, but honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing in business. Like with Elevate Construction and everything, like I have absolutely no clue. It's all prayer. It's all answers from a divine power. It's all support. It's all the team. And I am just super grateful. But I can tell you that a lot of times I get tipped over. And so in business today, one of the things that I do that I really count on is I rely on Katie to center me back to our core values. And, just a couple of examples there, like if we're not selling or the podcast isn't doing well or whatever, we have low numbers and I start to get into this fear-based mindset, Katie will remind me, Jason, why are we doing this? And I'll be like, we are going to, I'm emotional today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm about to cry, but I'm like, we are doing this for the workers and for the people and for the families in the industry. Like, period. That's it. And she's like, so then why are you worried? If we go out of business tomorrow, you did your best. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm fine. And so wow. I think, and then something else happened the other day. There was some. I get worried for people. It's software or different companies that are just in it for money. And this is in all fairness, it's my perception, so it may not be fact. But if I get to thinking like somebody's going to hurt somebody, then I get a little bit defensive and I get a little protective, like grandma was, right? And Katie's like, don't worry about them. There's plenty enough. We'll be fine. We're going to outpace them. We're going to get the people what they need. We're fine. So she's always anchoring me back. And I think what she does is she gets me away from my fear brain, which if I was talking to my fear brain next to me as my co-host, I'd be like, thank you. I really appreciate you. You're always trying to keep me safe, but I have to have faith in this instance. And so I would say how I show up, if I, Jason Schroeder, can get rid of my fear for just a moment, have somebody snap me out for just a moment, worrying about things and being fearful, then I can show up 100% in a vulnerable mindset. And I would say that has happened to me at church, at home, in business, in podcasts, with you. Charlie Dunn has done it with me, right? And so people, let me just tell you one little thing. Somebody was like, why is Jason all after CPM? It's because here's people and here's the CPM, and I promise I'll bring it back and be nice to CPM. So here's people, here's CPM, and I see that something's happening here. And just like Grandma Doris, I want to go protect them. So I go full grandma mode on this thing, and I get really violent about it. And really, that's not the right approach. It's like you and Charlie have told me, it's how can we win over, be a little bit more diplomatic, be vulnerable, and just say to any scheduling method, right? Last planner, CPM, tact, Gantt charts, the high variable, or what is the
low volume, HMLV,
high mix, low volume, PERT, Adept, whatever scheduling software. How can I show up vulnerable and be like, hey, this is what I'm worried about? And so I would say anytime somebody has got me away from grandma protective, I'm going to kill you because you're messing with my grandson mode, to let me be vulnerable, right? It's really worked out for me. So I'd say the answer to your question about how I need to show up is in every situation, trust the people around me, tell them what we're worried about, and really partner first and stay out of that fear zone.
That's amazing. I love, Katie bringing you back full circle. I've got a little Katie in my life. Brittany is forever bringing me back, asking me those tough questions. I love that, man. That's amazing. And we can't get past the importance of that, making sure that we show up with a vulnerable mindset so that other people can be vulnerable. And that, again, just builds trust, right? When we're asking, and that allows us to ask that next question. It allows us to ask the question that most folks don't go to, right? And it's funny. I love the intentional words. I am getting better at this. I will get better at this. I'm struggling with the business side of things as well. So I really appreciate, again, just that vulnerability and you helping me kind of just go out on my own and have that confidence. And I'm looking at you like, if he's doing it, and you said outpacing others, like that's not even the word. You are just running a race. You remind me of Ultra Steve Turner, who runs 240.3 miles. He's the bring back the trades guy.
Oh, okay.
240.3 miles in 4 days. It's nuts.
Wow.
So I guess, man, I've got you, the intentional word.
I'm sorry. I just want to say I really appreciate the compliment there. And I guess instead of letting that go to anybody's heads over here with what we're attempting to do, I would just say that that's kind of a payday, because you know as well as I do that I'm talking to you right now, but 473 times I was talking to a blank screen, or no, 463 times I was talking to a blank screen in a lonely office. And it's like, you really hope that you can make an impact and that you're spending resources wisely. So I do appreciate that feedback. And I want to say that directly, that that's a payday moment for me. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's really cool, especially coming from the guy who just told us about not wanting to be talking to a blank screen, like that need for social inclusion and environment. I think that's huge. So, man, I got a million different ways that I want to take this right now with you, but I got to hit you with this real fast, because I see you doing all these amazing things, and you're giving them out for free. You're being vulnerable with your knowledge and hopes that it lands in the right spot. I guess tell it, like, what is possessing Jason Schroeder, Spencer Easton, Elevate, Kevin Rice, Kate? Why are y'all giving so much information for free?
Well, so from a philosophical standpoint, we align more with Gary Vee than we probably do a lot of folks. And Katie's like, and I am too, but she gets to listen more, but she's like a super Gary Vee fan. And it's like, add value. And Tony Robbins, the first thing he says is add value. So I can say by very nature, there's probably some things that force us to do it. So I'm not saying that this is all good natured. So let's get back to the why we do it in a minute. But we give most of our stuff out. Anything we can give out for free, we give out for free. And from a philosophical standpoint, we feel like that works, because we feel like information should be free. Application should maybe cost some money. Like, you and I, we do, I guess some people would call it consulting, but really we're project directors, right? Well, like when we come to a project, we're in that project director role, right? So when we come and I get to fly somewhere, I caught myself. When I get to fly somewhere or get to work with a team or whatever, that has to be paid for, because I have to pay the bills, right? But information, right, that should be free. I would say that a couple things drive us from just who we are, is that I worry more about getting it done than getting the money. What I'm saying is, and this is another vulnerable moment, and I could say the biggest cause of stress for me in business really probably isn't the finances or this or that or whatever, or marketing. It's if I sign up with a retainer with a client and they have difficulties or people are not bought in, I internalize their failures. I don't care about what they pay me. I don't care about being on a retainer. In fact, I was joking with Kevin Rice. The true definition of a retainer is somebody pays me money and I'm here if they need me, right? And they ask me for stuff. But when you're with Elevate, like we have probably what's called a push retainer. And that means that we're constantly driving. No, let's go. Like we're driving, or we're attempting to drive the customer and their results. We're results driven. And so I worry and stress about, and I shouldn't, but I worry and stress about people's businesses. If they sign us up, then I'm like, how can we get this better? Oh, this person quit, or that person's being a little, and I worry about it like it's my own business. And I would say that there's a limit to that, and I have to balance that, but that's what drives us. If I think about, I can either put something behind a paywall, which either way is, it's not good or bad, right? Putting something behind a paywall is not bad. I'm not criticizing that at all. But in this instance, if I send it out there for free or put it behind a paywall, what's going to get the results faster? And we find that in a lot of cases, putting it out there in the open for free will get the results faster. And so it only benefits the results driven nature of what we're worried about, to get people to have better, less frictional access to it. And what I find there, and we didn't even know it would happen, is the more value we give, the more stuff we get out for free, the more wonderful companies, and I'll just give some shout outs, like O'Shea Builders, Petticoat Schmidt, Green Street Contracting, like these people, they're working with us and they're growing us and we're growing them. and they're actually kind of funding the industry a little bit, right? So the free content is kind of coming a little bit or a lot of it from these wonderful companies that we get to work with. And so the reason that we give this content out for free is because we're results driven. The other thing is, I worry about the people more than I worry about our business, and more than I worry about our customers paying us. And so if somebody said at the end of the day, we were able to change 1,000 people's lives versus, it's 500. I want to do 1,000, even if that means giving some things for free. Last thing, because I'm taking up too much time. There's a part in Schindler's List. I watched it again. I don't know if I'm old enough. There's some nude parts in there, but I forgot about those. But anyway, but the actual movie is just a really great movie. And at the end, he's like, this watch right here, this watch could have been like 2 more people. This shirt, this car, this 10 more people, And after watching that movie, I would just say by accident, not by good nature. I'm not saying we do this by good nature, but just by accident, we're like, what bit of free content could be 10 more people, could be 5 more people, could be 1 more person or whatever. And so it's probably a really bad business decision. There probably needs to be a better balance with us on how we do that. But that's our motivation, is because at the end of the day, I stress about our customers' business and I internalize the failures of others. And I feel like more content and accessibility will help people to get the results they want.
Yeah, you nailed it. Gary Vee has given out so much free content out there. Like, you can create a business, maintain and sustain a business just based on Gary Vee's content. The guy's an animal. But what I hear you saying is he preaches the same thing. It's that natural care for people. It's that care for your clients to be successful. When you're approaching a situation, a coaching opportunity or a consulting opportunity, you're looking at it as, how am I also growing in this moment? And how are we making all the people around us grow and make them better? And so I love how you said those people, right? Green Street, O'Shea Builders, Petticoat Schmidt, these folks are funding the industry right now. They are making the industry better through you. And that is a really, really special, that you're learning with your clients, right? Like, you're not going in there from a I know everything mindset and I'm going to take control, but you're vulnerable with them. You're like, hey, I'm here to learn with you. I'm here to get better with you. And if that means you're going to make me better, then heck, thank you for not making me pay for that, So I hear very much it's the reason you're giving things out is, hey, it's for the people. We care for the people, and we want them to learn, and we want them to get better. And we want to optimize the entire industry's knowledge with regards to the best way to build.
Yes. And I will say one of the things, and if people don't know about, and this is just for tax planning, I'm also building a Mural Board for the superintendent growth path. We're building one for surveyors. We actually just added the pre-construction process to the tax Mural Board. I mean, the integrated production control system will be outlined one of these days. But this is an interesting thing, because a lot of times I'm controlling, meaning I want it to be controlled so it's perfect for people. But I would say that a lot of stuff has been taken from the Mural Board since we released it, and people are spreading it, and I'm not saying this negative, as if it was theirs. And so which means it's working, means it's so low friction that people can take it. And if I ever get to a point where I'm like, ooh, I wanted credit for that, Katie brings me back and is like, what's your mission? Oh, our mission is to get it out. It's working. You know what I mean? So that human, fear brain, want credit type stuff comes up with me every now and then, but we always anchor back to the truth, which is what we're aspiring to be. Is it doesn't matter who. I love the quote, you can get as far as you want in life as long as you don't care who gets the credit. And so we are anchoring back to, I don't care who takes it, who shares the video, who consults, who teaches, who does whatever, who takes the pictures, as long as it's blessing people's lives. And as a human, it's hard to anchor back to that, but that's what Katie does for me, and our mission always anchors us back to. So The Mural Board is a great example, and I just want to shout out to the people on your podcast that we, as we're building these, and you can get it for tax planning completely there, a complete outline, which in 2 years will be even 10 times better than it is now. We are finding that it's great to have videos, it's great to have podcasts, it's great to have all that things, but when you outline it in an outline, in a process, you know, going back to Hoots, your systems thinking and Hal's systems thinking, and you actually put it into a system and you can see the stocks and flows and feedback loops, that's when people get it. And so one of the most inspired things that I'm most excited about is having all of our processes on Mural boards in an outline for the industry to see from A to Z and to be able to pick the part that they're in. That's what I don't know how I got onto that, but anyway.
It's free. Right. It's just another one of your free resources that are out there, whether you're reading your book on your podcast, both of your book, or you're putting out a podcast a day, or you've got all these Miro boards, it's free content that you're trying to put in front of people to allow people to easily pick up tax planning, right? Like, you don't have to go hire. It makes it easier if you go hire a coach like Jason or Spencer. You have all of that information available to you. Now it's, what are you going to do with that resource to make it happen? I love it. And Katie keeps centering us back to people, right? And that's what it's about, is how do we maximize the impact to people? And how do we really speak in the language that they understand and that we can actually help them get better? And so, and I love, we keep coming back to tax planning. You actually mentioned CPM, and I didn't bite on this one, but I was just talking with Raphael yesterday at Bosch Refine My Site. I told him we need to have an event where it's like almost like a boxing arena type of event, where in this corner we got tax planning, and in this corner we've got CPM, and then we got last planner, and then bringing Felipe out from a scrum at the end to just tell us we're all wrong, right? And I don't know what corner I would fit in, quite honestly. I might be the referee right in the middle trying to stymie the whole thing. But yeah, I think it's all about the people. And I guess, so this is kind of playing in real well. And Jen Lacey says the ripples of impact, right? You may not know where that ripple started, but as long as that ripple is impacting people in a positive way, where we're making a difference in the industry, where we're driving change, we're driving vulnerability, trust, we're setting those right conditions for people to be open and to be able to speak and be, psychologically safe. As was it Havery? Is that?
Cavery has been a real, she works with Hensel Phelps, absolutely amazing leader, and is always talking about psychological safety. And I absolutely feel like we just have to get there. And anyway, I'll be quiet, but go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I actually met Cavery on your free tax fundamentals, the first 2-hour course, which was yesterday, I believe, or the day before. And again, that connection would have never been made. I would have never known that she existed had you not been for the people and delivering free things. And man, so I'm grateful for that. I know the lean builders out there are grateful for that. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious, though, what your definition of bullshito is. How, we've got a little bit of what we're calling no bullshito on this podcast, and it's deeper than just the no BS. We're trying to better understand things. How would you define no bullshito?
Well, I'm sure this isn't right, but I'll tell you if somebody said Jason's definition, which is what you did, I would say any kind of lean or operational excellence strategy, or any kind of strategy that doesn't center around people. And I know that probably sounds cliche after talking about it, but Jesse with the operational excellence folks with Nicholas Modig, he was interviewing me the other day, and he was like, what kind of contractors are out there implementing real lean, not this like fake lean? And my definition, and actually part of this definition, to kind of put you on the spot and back you into a corner, is a lot of it's built from the things you've taught me. My definition of lean is respect for people and resources, stability, capacity, capability, and flow, number 2. Number 3, total participation. And then number 4, continuous improvement and quality. And I put that fourth one after the foundation of respect, stability, capability, and capacity, and then total participation with people, and then the continuous improvement. And I don't feel like, I know people can make improvements at any time, but I don't think we'll really leverage this until we have these at the bottom. And I was thinking about the companies that do business with me. Every single one of the companies that do business with me, and I bet you it's true for you too, did not call and say, I want to make more money. They did not do that. None of them I can think of nearly 40, let's call it 30, so I don't sound like I'm 30 contractors in the last year and a half that I get to do business with. None of them called about money. None of them said, I want to make more money. None of them said, I have this business problem that deals with process and money. They all said, I want a better environment for my people. They all said, I want to change the industry. So I'll give you a couple of examples, and I don't want to offend anybody, but like Shield Sexton, guess what? They're in their core, their motto is expect more. On the back of the superintendent book, it says, step up, let's go, expect more, right? And so like, there's that alignment again, right? Or we talk about people, and in their mission, it's like, we want to change the industry. And I'm like, well, guess what? Elevate Construction, we want to change the industry too. They were all centered around people. And those are the companies that will do the hard things, at least in my small experience, that will actually go implement non-bullshito lean, where they actually take care of the people, improve the lives of the workers, really focus on organizational health. They really develop their teams. They're inclusive of protected classes. They support women and women-owned businesses. And it's like, wow, this is an amazing world. And sorry about getting so excited, but I just like, and again, they are the ones changing the industry. These companies that are willing to do the right thing, they're like, Elevate, come help us. And they help me at the same time because they have the right foundation and they're centered on people. And then the outgrowth of that is we increase production and we make more money and the crews are better off and we get more customers. And like, we're doing that. And O'Shea Builders, we did a podcast with them and the other day, and their owner was doing this. They hired some people. They focused on organizational development. They hired some amazing team development people, and their business is now they're going to the moon, right? And they're like, we are a 15-year overnight success. And I'm not doing this right. Hold on. Yeah, so they're a 15-year overnight success. But everything that hit the ahead of the incline was people. And without the promise of a financial return, and then the financial return comes. And I've just seen that pattern over and over. Non-bullshito lean is lean that has the ultimate end of blessing and benefiting people and families.
I love that. That's the best definition I've heard to date. Making sure that when we're taking tools and we're taking strategies and concepts, that at the root of it is all people. And I cannot wait to listen again on Jason. Take us briefly through that quick definition of what lean is for you. Can you run me through that again while I draw it here? Yep.
So for me, and I've learned this from a lot of people, and I've spent years putting this together from learning from people. I didn't have this. But for me, respect for people. And I still don't understand entirely what that means, but I'm attempting to really fast. And I've learned the other day, it's not just respecting people what we think they should be, but respecting people for the nature of who they actually are, right? And I don't live that way all the time. And again, Katie anchors me, and I'm doing my best. I'm really a sweet man with a lot of flexing tendencies that I need to flex out of. And so I think that should give people hope that if you have some tendencies of being really directive and judgmental, like me, you're really a sweet person, you can train and we can neurologically reprogram ourselves back to where we should be. But respect for people is, I really, really care. I really, really respect the nature of people and resources, right? And I'm not an activist, right? But like, we live on this beautiful earth, and I teach my kids, hey, don't just go kill that caterpillar or whatever, tear down that tree. Like, these are living things. Like, respect the resources around us. This is a beautiful world that God created for us, right? Second, and this is where Adam Hoots comes in strong. And I would say that Felipe, Jennifer, Jesse, Adam, Hal, right, has really helped me with this respect piece. But then up here in the stability piece, I learned from Hensel Phelps, you run a stable project, period, end of story, right? I learned from Adam Hoots, you got to have a team with capacity and capability, right? You have to have a team that has the training, the capability, the aptitude, and the capacity to go do those things. And we've all learned from Nicholas Modig and flow. So my second definition is stability, capacity, capability, and flow. Is we have to have that stable environment with a team that has the training, with a team that has the time to create flow in the field. And then once we have respectful environments and stability, then we get everybody involved. Right? Everybody on the project site, not just the project management team, but the workers and the foreman and everybody. And people are like, oh, that's never going to happen. If you do worker huddles, it'll happen. If you have barbecues and actually respect your people, it'll happen. If you actually stop and talk to the workers and the foreman, it will happen. And if you engage people in their improvements, it will happen. If you get them good parking in a smoking area, it'll happen. And so at the BSRL, the research laboratory, you remember we had, and this doesn't sound like a lot, but from construction workers, it's a lot because they're so busy, they don't have time to make videos. We had 186 lean improvement of videos, and it's still on the YouTube channel. And we had total participation because they had a stable environment, a respectful environment to participate with. And then we started to make those continuous improvement videos. And so I believe at my heart that if we altruistically create respectful environments that are stable, and we involve everybody all the way to the apprentice pushing a broom, that we can engage the hearts and minds of everybody on the project site and improve in wildly dramatic ways. And that's not just a pipe dream. You've done it on projects. I've done it on projects. It works, and it's the only way to live. And that's my definition of lean. And I constantly just anchor back to it.
I love it. And when you don't anchor back to it, Katie anchors you back to it, I'm sure.
Yes. In the last week, there have been, go ahead. Yeah.
No, tell me last week, what do you got?
The last week, there have been 3 major things that Katie has helped anchor us back to where I would have made a wildly wrong decision. And so those core values and that purpose is big. And I just, for those who might not have an accountability partner, get one. I'm telling you, God have, and you anchor me back, Adam, right? And we're better together, right? And that's another one, just like On We Go, or that's what Lean Builders do, better together. That's something you brought up earlier, is that we network and connect and it grows, and like, we're just better together. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. You know, that's my wedding song, right? You know that?
I did not know that. Here, excuse me.
Better Together by Jack Johnson.
I'm in freezing Arizona. Let me turn off my heater here real quick. If it's not 84 degrees, I gotta have the heater on.
I love it. So we got about 10, 15 more minutes, and I'm dying to get into your productivity. You have graciously allowed me some behind the scenes views of kind of how you and your team really drives productivity. Tell me, how do you get so much done? I mean, you are constantly, again, putting things out for free. You're coaching people. You're flying here, flying there. You've got 11 children. You've got a wife that keeps you grounded. Like, how on earth does Jason Schroeder juggle everything that he has going on and still maintain a respectful area where folks can be vulnerable? How do you do that?
So you know the base low-hanging fruit answers is that I'm fanatical about personal organization. One thing to know about me, people will say, well, tell me what sports you like, or things like that. One of the secrets to my life is that I'm so hyper focused that it's almost like nothing else even exists. So I have family, wife, children, church, work, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else in my life. It's like that. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. So you asked me how I produce. Yeah. So there's nothing else. I'm not going to go golfing. I'm not going to go to a dinner or something that I'm not a part of. If it's something I'm focused on, I'm going to give it all there, like 100%. I don't waste any of my time. The other thing is I preach a lot about work-life balance, and I believe in that. And actually, I do have a pretty good balance. People would say that I do a decent amount of work at church. I do a lot with my kids, and I do a lot at work. But the secret to us is that we homeschool our children and we merge our worlds. Some people said, so Derek Kirkland at DPR one time, I'll shout him out, said, it's not really a work-life balance, it's a work-life blend and balance. I've really taken that blend into to heart, and I take the children with me on trips. A little bit more expensive for plane tickets. I don't charge clients for that, but I take the children with me. So they're with me. My children go with me to boot camps. I take my children with me on church activities. And so we don't have, if I had my kids in public school, which there's nothing wrong with public school, that's not what I'm saying. But if they had their school and then homework, my life would look a lot different. Because we're so merged together as a family business, I can work 100 hours a week having fun with my family and not violate that balance in life. Whereas somebody else would only need to work 55 hours in a week and then have the time dedicated to family. So many things overlap for me. I can work 100 hours a week. I would say another thing for me, and I'm not advocating this, but because it's a mission, it's just like Adam Hoots and I went to, I don't want to, like, we went to Canada or Russia or Europe or Africa or South America. We're on a mission. While we were there, we would work our butt off, right? So right now, as we're starting this business, Elevate, we're on a mission. I work my butt off. Like, I'll be at 11 o'clock at night doing a podcast, so like it's definitely a grind. But I would say the productivity comes because this goes back to a concept that Jocko Willink shares, is that it all comes down to the leader. The leader sets the pace and the leader is accountable, and we have to have extreme ownership. And Katie and I drive at a grueling pace, and only people that like that grueling pace like to work with us. And I mean, internally inside the company. And so it's really just about the vision that we have, the passion that we have for it, and the focus that we're able to give it. And yes, personal organization comes into that, but from a productivity standpoint, what we do is a lifestyle more than anything. And I hope that answered the question. The last thing that I would say with that is we try and merge things, meaning I'll give you an example. If I'm writing a book and need to write a book, how can I create synergy between podcast episodes and the book and not have them be separate? Well, I can do episodes that can then be transcribed and become a part of the book. Well, that's a great idea. So that can become a synergistic environment. I'm working with a client and they need pre-construction efforts. And okay, well, I also wanted to put together a pre-construction mural board. So those are no longer separate activities. They're together, and I'll create something where I'm not showing client information, but I'm developing the backbone. And then now that can go out to the world, but then it gets developed in its full form internally with the company. So I look for synergies everywhere I go. And I would say that those synergies end up multiplying exponentially once you get the hang of it.
I love that so much. What a life hack right there by Jason Schroeder. That was pretty amazing. What I hear you saying is that's just what lean builders do, huh?
that's just what, you know what it is. And I never thought about it like that, but that's what it takes, right? Is to find those synergies and always continuously improve. And so I would say we are fanatical about continuous improvement and adjusting and aligning systems. Yeah, absolutely. Love that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And for what that's worth, it's something I said on one of our previous podcasts. Miss Jen Lacey pointed that out. Go figure. Finding the saying within the saying. So, well, Jason, what else? I mean, so part of this is, right, I want to make sure that this is a platform where we're respecting the builders, the men and women who are getting at the job at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, every day, raining, opening gates. Like, that's just what they do. And so tell me, what advice, what wisdom would you have to pass down to the person who is, just coming into the industry, who's got to figure it out? I mean, we've heard a lot about vulnerability in people. So what tangible advice would you give folks, kind of that next generation of builders?
Well, so here's what I would say, and I just don't know how to say it without bringing in a little bit. Maybe you have to edit this out, but bringing in just a little bit of me. Like, I believe in eternity. I believe in eternal progress. I believe in the nature of woman and man to be something greater than they could ever possibly conceive. And I feel like that comes through a rigorous training and trying program, meaning it's hard to live on earth, on this world. It's hard for us to go through things. We have marital problems. We have problems with our kids. We have problems in our projects. We have, and I'm not diminishing it by just saying it in a quick sentence. We have emotional trauma. We have lack of psychological safety sometimes. We have emotional problems, depression, anxiety, all of these things. And I would say there are certain things that actually make victims out of people, and there are certain things that are actually so traumatic that human beings shouldn't go through it. And there are certain things out in this world that are just really bad. And there is also another percentage of things that if we reframe our mindset, we can actually use it as a tool for growth and for progress. I'll give you two quick for instances. And I love that Tony Robbins does this. When we're in his classes, he always raises funds for the Underground Railroad, preventing human trafficking. And anytime I think about that, it's like, anyway, just like human beings being treated like that is like bad. And there's just all these bad things that happen on this earth that shouldn't happen, right? So one, how can I create money and help those organizations? Number two, how can I switch anything that's not that bad, not that traumatic, the stress, the trials, the difficulties, the progression, the need for learning, into a tool for growth? And so I would say anything, if you take a hammer, you can beat somebody over the head with it, or you can build a house. Right. And so if I come up to a situation where I'm going to take on this new project, or I can go learn, or I can learn the Last Planner system, or I can start listening to the Lean Builder podcast, or my marriage is struggling, that's a neutral tool. And that problem is a neutral thing. And we can either make it a tool for destruction, or we can make it a tool for good. My marriage is struggling. I can either dig in and make it better and end up at the other end with a deeper sense of belonging, purpose, and connection with my spouse, or I can get a divorce. And I'm not criticizing either one. Sometimes people just need to get divorced. Or I've got a really crappy job. This is either a tool, I can just let it tank my career and get depressed and everything, or I can let me get depressed, but I keep struggling and trying at it, and I learn something along the way, right? Everything is a tool for either good or bad, or for progress or lack of progress. And my point is I don't feel like human beings are designed to stagnate. I don't believe it. And everything around me in the universe either tends to destruction or organization. And I don't feel like anything that stagnates on the earth that isn't bred with life, or it doesn't have life within it, tends to the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, right? It tends to decay. And I feel like human beings were designed to create and to give and to build and to rise to the occasion and to deal with stress and to help each other, and that by virtue of having problems creates that human connection. And so my vision for people is, I just want to say, yes, you can go watch the TV, but I don't think that's how you're going to be the happiest. Yes, you can not read books, but I just don't know that that's going to give you not you, Adam, but people, the best life. Yes, you can give up on that relationship, but I just don't know that you're going to end up as happy as you possibly could be. Yes, you could just settle in your position, or you could be the best at that position as you possibly could, or get promoted to the next position. And so my thing is, I feel like humans were designed to live a remarkable life, and the goods and the bads help us to do that. The easy times and the hard times help us to do that. And I want us to take more opportunities to rise to the occasion, whichever side that we're on, and turn as many things as we can into opportunities instead of defeats in our personal life. And I want people to know, this last thing I'll say, it can be done. And like Eric Thomas says, it's sweeter on this side. Like once you've ground down and read 40 books in a year and gone through that college program or gone through that technical training or fixed that marriage or went and said sorry to that person or made reparation or paid your time or whatever it is, it's sweeter on this side. Humans were not designed to be stagnant. And so my invitation is let's grow. I could say let's go, but I would also say that means let's grow. Let's grow together. Humans were designed to live a remarkable life. That's the best thing I can say in answer to what you said.
On we grow is what I hear you saying.
On we grow.
I love rise to the occasion. Don't run from your problems. Run at them. It's a mindset thing, right? It's having a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. I think Dwan posted yesterday something about out there on LinkedIn. I'd rather be weak and growing than strong and stagnant. And I heard you say the word, and that really clicked something in my brain right there. You got me super fired up, ready to like identify what problem do I have the most at right now, and I'm going to run right through that brick wall. Like just,
yes.
Man, you get me so fired up. Like I want this remarkable life. You are an inspiration to myself, to many of the lean builders out there. Man, I hope everybody feels just as fired up as I do after hearing what you just said. And that was incredible.
Well, thank you. The last thing I'll say in a closing comment is I'm going bald. I every now and then pack on a couple pounds and have to exercise it off. Our house gets quite messy sometimes. I get depressed and I have anxiety. I yell at my kids every now and then, but I don't let that stop me. You and I are just as human as anybody else. And the reason on we go is there I get emotional again. The reason on we go is my tagline is because no matter how bad it gets, no matter how hard it gets, even if I slow down for a little bit, we are going forward, not back. And if somebody's like, well, I argued with my wife the last 10 days, there's always tomorrow. That project went wrong. There's always tomorrow. I'm depressed. Get help. Let's go. We are not giving up. Do not sit down. Do not go on the side of the road. Do not let go of the vision and the hope of where we're going here. On we go. That is the only answer, no matter how hard it gets. Adam and I, maybe not as bad as you. We've had trauma in our life. We've had depression. We've raised kids poorly. I've texted and driven before. I've eaten things I shouldn't eaten. Like all the things. And what makes people successful is on we go. We are going forward and not back. And so I just want people to know that we're not perfect. We're not superstars. We're not famous. We are human beings that are just dedicated to the future, to the heaven, to the paradise, to the giving, to the family connection, to this thing that we're creating together. That's non-bullshito, is creating a community of people that love and care and respect each other. That is non-bullshito. And that's my message. And I really appreciate being here today. This has been a fun podcast.
Yeah, being real. I value what you just said, right? Because people are idolizing you. And to hear you say those things, I mean, yeah, I suffer from a lot of them as well. I haven't always been the best father, the best husband, the best person that I could be. And so I've actually got, real quickly, I'll dive into a concept that I've talked about a little bit about, but it's speaking exactly to what you're saying. We have the past tense is typically formed in ed or ed. We learned, right? So it ends in ed. There is a negative ed and there is a positive ed. That negative ed is we're dwelling on what we learned and, oh my goodness, it wasn't enough and that. But then there's the positive ed of, look, I learned this and now I'm applying it moving forward, and I'm affecting the ing, the ing, the thing that we are doing right now. And so that speaks right to your on we go. It's, we're going to get better. We're going to improve. We are not going backwards. And so I love the human element that you are kind of closing this out on of look, nobody's perfect. There was one perfect person. At least that's what I believe. That's what you believe. And we all need to strive to be like that person. Jesus, if you don't know who I'm talking about. But it's important to know that we all fail. Like, we will never be able to have that perfect life, that perfect mindset. Things are always going to get us down. And so I almost am about to start calling you Katie now, because you're like grounding me. You're bringing me back to, look, nobody's perfect, right? Nobody has that ability to do all things right all the time. It's that we are improving on a daily basis, and that we're trying to at least make an attempt to do things right on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, like each second of our lives, knowing right from wrong, and enforcing or marching down that path. So anyway, Jason, thank you so much, man. You are an incredible human being. You are certainly affecting people, the lean builders out there. We are all grateful for your existence as a human being. Thanks for being a little vulnerable, tearing up with us, letting us know that it's okay to just be human. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here. And I appreciate you. This sounds like a love fest. I will say, Adam, I love you. I think you're a wonderful man, and that you're the real deal. You're the right person for this podcast. And I want to say to anybody listening to your show, I believe in you. And Ryan Young and Derek Kirkland one time in a performance review when I was a superintendent said, you know, Jason, I don't think that you're going to just change our company. I think you're going to branch out and change the world. And before that thought or before somebody said that to me, I didn't even have it in my mind. As soon as they planted that thought, it started all of this moving. And now we have thousands upon thousands upon thousands, all of us collectively, people that we're affecting. And so anybody listening to this podcast, I want you to hear from me. I believe in you, and you deserve to live a remarkable life.
Amen. Well, thank you, Derek Kirkland and Brian Young, for encouraging and inspiring this. Like, wow, what a world. And for what it's worth, I struggle with love, care, and compassion, but I do love you just the same, Jason. You are, again, just an incredible human being. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being real, because that's just what lean builders do, baby.
On we go.